Let's take you to the story now. It seems like e-hailing companies might as well close their doors. There've been numerous complaints lately by users that drivers no longer want to take short trips. It's been alleged that the drivers decline trips if they're not worth the time or cost of completing the trip. Simply put, these drivers don't want to do short trips, saying they're working at a loss. E-hailing operator spokesperson Vhatuka Mbelengwa joins me now to discuss this further and give us more information. Vhatuka, thank you very much for your time here on All Angles. Firstly, is it true that drivers are simply cancelling trips that are too short because it's not worth the money? And is this also directed, of course, at the fact that they feel cheated by Uber itself?
Yes, it is a growing trend within the sector. I think what we need to understand here is the economic viability of short trips doesn't make sense purely based on the base fare or the minimum base fare that is then predetermined by Uber in itself. Drivers have long been calling for an increase in the base fare in itself so that that minimum radius 2 kilometer that is covered within that base fare should be economically viable for the participants. Drivers are also calling that the base fare or the trip charge should be reflected by increasing based on the amount of riders and not only just a flat rate, which is the current experience at the moment.
All right, so what is the base fare at the moment and what are drivers calling for?
The current base fare it averages at around 20-25 rand based on the platform you're working at. But often then this is reduced by the promotions offered by the various platforms, whereby a driver will do a local trip and end up earning less, paying less than the 20 rand or receiving less than 20 rand in payment because of these promos. So drivers are calling for something closer to the range of around 50 rand, but also dependent on the amount of riders in that vehicle. But currently the base fare and the short trips are just not economically viable.
But when you look at it, most of the time, I don't know if that is really the trend, but most of the time when I use Uber, it's because I don't want to drive while catching up with friends, right? Just in case I have that 1 or 2 glasses of wine. And that is always a short trip because I meet people nearby. So isn't that the trend? Isn't that what most people usually call Uber for, those short trips? It's not always the long ones like going to the airport, etc. So are you saying Uber might as well shut down then if you're not going to take short trips?
I think what we're saying is essentially let's address the base cost, the minimum base fare. But should that not be something that Uber is willing to address? Should Uber not be willing to establish some sort of joint price determining platform in partnership with drivers? Yeah, it may as well shut down because drivers they're not making any money to take home. They've got kids to feed, they've got bills to pay, and the short trips are just not economically viable when you look at the cost of a litre of petrol and then you're going to pay 15 rand or 13 rand for a short trip. It's just not economically viable, and there's a serious human impact towards the driver's life on this.
All right. My time's up. I was going to ask you about the base fare, and if they don't move it, are we likely to see another strike? But I assume the answer to that would be a yes. Thank you very much for speaking to us. That is Vhatuka Mbelengwa. He is the spokesperson for those who work in the e-hailing services.